What if I told you that the leftovers on your plates are leading the push towards climate change? While we often don't think about food waste on a daily basis, it's more connected to our lives than we realize. According to the United Nations Global Reports, approximately 1/3 of food produced is wasted, while 828 million people go to bed hungry every night. Yet, at the same time, the fossil fuel industry produces 36.8 million metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. These three crises, food waste, food insecurity, and climate change, are not separate. They are interconnected and fuel each other, creating a crisis that we cannot turn a blind eye towards. Now, oftentimes when we think about climate change, we talk about melting ice caps and rising temperatures. And while this does remain true, in order to really understand the extent to which climate change affects communities, we must also look towards how climate disasters affect communities. Climate-related and natural disasters such as wildfires, hurricanes, and tornadoes often lead towards farms being wiped out and entire food systems being replaced, meaning that vulnerable communities are left without a sustainable and reliable access to a food source. For instance, to the 2025 Palisades fires in Los Angeles County, which led to an increased output of food insecurity rates, leading to restaurants and nonprofits rushing to provide food for evacuees. At the same time, food waste contributes to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Food waste contributes to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions, according to a United Nations report. That is more than the entire aviation industry's output combined. This paradox is what led Ariana Silent, Sophia Hennessy, and I to co-found Novasta, directly translating to no waste in Latin, a nonprofit organization dedicated to addressing the crisis of food insecurity and food waste. As a collective, we have rallied together youth across the nation that have donated over 7,000 meals that would have otherwise been thrown out. Now, this is to say that your role in preventing the climate crisis is not minimal. A small step goes a long way. Consume mindfully. Purchase with purpose. Because the food that you do not eat ends up polluting the air you breathe. Now, early on in our efforts, we realized that a true change in food systems cannot be made without policy. That is why organizations at the local, state, and national level exist to encourage individuals and organizations to advocate and learn more about issues affecting our lives, such as food waste, food insecurity, and climate change, such as the Zero Food Waste Coalition. But I also want to highlight that legislation addressing food waste must also tackle climate change. Take France, for instance. Their ban on food waste from supermarkets ended up leading to a reduced output of methane emissions, which is a greenhouse gas 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide, and also led to increased food diversion efforts. So any legislation that tackles food waste must also keep climate change in mind, because these two things are interconnected and end up affecting each other. Now, another often overlooked aspect of climate change is climate displacement and domestic migration. According to the World Bank, By 2050, approximately 216 million people are predicted to be displaced by climate-related and natural disasters. That is the equivalent of the entire populations of France, the United Kingdom, and Italy combined. This is a reality that we need to work to address. You need to start lobbying for legislation that tackles climate change and tackles food waste and also food insecurity. And this is a crisis that we cannot afford to ignore. Quite literally, food loss results in over $1 trillion lost globally every year. Floods and droughts end up wiping out farms and leaving vulnerable communities without a sustainable access to food. And who suffers the most? The world's most poorest communities, who are contributing the least to climate change, yet are still paying the highest price. Now, I mentioned that food loss results in over $1 trillion annually, but 408 billion of those dollars derive just from the United States. And that is exactly why we need to act now. Individuals need to start advocating for policies that not only address climate change, but affect the issues in their areas, in areas of their life that they care about. They need to start taking action and advocating for mitigation policies for fossil fuel emitters. Advocating for stronger policies is the only way we can make a true impact. And right now, more than ever, the world cannot afford apathy. Thank you.